now introduce our sponsor and keynote, Colonel Donna Fore, who served with the U.S. Air Force. Thank you so much for doing that for us. And I'll let her do her introductions. She's just joined a new company, and she does this wonderful financial training with us each on the first and third Mondays. Reginald will be doing his presentation on Wednesday of this month. And so we always welcome sponsors, but we also like you to attend. So we welcome all of you as well. Over to you, Donna, and I'll get your slides up in a few minutes.
Thank you, Claire. It's good to see everybody. And welcome to the new folks, Daryl and Brenda. It's so nice to have you tonight, especially since I'm very excited about what you all do. Brenda, your foundation sounds like something that First Sergeant Gray could benefit from, since he's got these junior ROTC students that he's prepping to hopefully have a successful career, you know, in college or other pursuits. And then Daryl, you're MWR Financial. I've heard of it, but I don't know a lot about it. So I'm looking forward to maybe catching one of your webinars on Thursday nights. What time is it on Thursdays?
8:30 p.m. and I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. Okay, that would be great. So as Claire said, I am a Air Force veteran. Of course, we have Sergeant Gray in the room. Reginald, I don't think mentioned it, but he's an Army veteran. So we've got quite a bit of military represented here tonight, which is kind of exciting. I'm always happy to be around a lot of vets, and we always have a lot to share. We've had interesting experiences wherever we've gone. I did serve 30 years, so it wasn't quite a long time. I actually retired from the Air Force. So if there's a place you're interested in, I've probably been there. So just let me know in chat, and I'll get back to you about what I know about the place. Because I went all over Europe, Asia, even went to Australia, Iceland, Central South America. I went all over the world. I didn't see much of the United States, unfortunately. I still have on my bucket list to see my own country, but I certainly have been all over the world. But it's wonderful to see everybody. What I like about these Zoom events is we get a chance to learn about each other's businesses, share referrals, share information, provide an opportunity to help each other out, which is why Claire organized this. She was trying to promote business owners, you know, entrepreneurs, people that wanted to advance their businesses. And when obviously the pandemic hit, she flipped everything to Zoom. So we have started some in-person events. So if you're in the Goldsboro area, we've been doing in-person events at least once a month. So
Donna, are you there?
represent some topics you're probably familiar with, but maybe you've never. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Can you see the slides?
No.
Can you see the slides? No slides? Okay, let's do it again. 1 second.
Now, we're going to talk about planning, specifically
Now, can you see the slides?
Nope.
financial planning oriented around your retirement.
Yes, we can now.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, go ahead, Donna.
There they are. There they are. Okay, wonderful. Okay, perfect. So we're going to talk about early planning for retirement. And when we get into this, if you have any questions, just hold them to the end and I'll be happy to answer any question you have. The next slide has my contact information. If you don't have time to copy it down right now, don't worry about it. I will put it in the chat. And obviously Claire has all my contact information if you want to get back to me later. One thing I want to point out about my practice, I am a business owner with Mutual of Omaha Insurance Division, over 100 years old, one of the country's oldest life insurance companies. But as Daryl pointed out, we're a full financial services company as well as his. We do everything from retirement plans to life insurance, long-term care plans, disability insurance, cancer insurance, critical illness insurance. I'm probably missing something, but we provide a lot of different kinds of protection for your income, right? So be sure and reach out to me if you would like to pursue a follow-up appointment. I am a licensed agent with Mutual of Omaha. I do sell more than just Mutual of Omaha products, but this is my core company is with Mutual of Omaha. I am allowed to work with other vendors. I'm licensed in multiple states. They're listed here. everything from Connecticut to Florida, Georgia, Maryland, Missouri, North Carolina, of course, South Carolina, Texas, where I'm from, Virginia, and West Virginia. My cell phone and email are there. Again, it'll be in the chat. So next slide. So when you're talking about retirement planning, it's never too early to plan for your retirement. In fact, I stress this, and it's going to be on one of the slides. You really have to plan as early as possible for a good retirement. The reason for that is we're spending more years in retirement. When our grandparents, and to a certain extent our parents, retired, they may have spent 20 or 30 years in retirement. We're, because of longevity, we're living a lot longer, and our retirement as a result lasts a lot longer than it did for our ancestors. The importance of planning is what I want to stress tonight. There's one word you're going to hear a lot of, it's planning. We want to understand your options. And we want to make sure you set some goals. Now, it doesn't matter if you're starting late in life or if you're just starting out. It's never too late to plan for your retirement. In fact, I stressed there in that text in red, your first day of work should be your first day of making retirement contributions. So don't underestimate the value of starting when you get on that first job. And if you are already in a good retirement place and you're comfortable where you're at least share my contact information with someone that you're not sure about so I can help them. So I realize some of the people on the call are already retired or maybe very happy with their retirement, but I would love if you would just use me as a referral and refer me to other people that maybe you're not so confident about their retirement. And you have to plan early if you want to get the retirement that you want and that you deserve. Next slide. So we're going to talk about options, goals, and planning. If you can remember 3 things about tonight, that's what we want to stress: goals, options, and planning. So, and it's like any other goal. If you write it down and you put it somewhere where you'll remind yourself of it daily, you'll stay on track. So I encourage people that are setting out with their first retirement plan or thinking about it, set down your goals in writing. Now, for a minute, I want you to kind of close your eyes for a second. And I want you to imagine that you're now about to retire and you're beginning to think about retirement. You're not going to be working anymore. You're going to fully enjoy your life. And you're going to imagine what that looks like. And imagine the place you're at, what you're doing, and who you're with. Because that's what we're trying to plan for, that place in your mind where you're living, you're enjoying life without working, and you're with the people that you want to enjoy that with. That's what's important. Where are you? What are you doing? And who are you with? So ask yourself this question: what is my timeline for retirement? Now, the first sergeant and I, we've already retired from the military, but we're still working because we love what we do. We like serving others, right? But at some point, he and I will both be, ready to, walk off the stage and fully retire. Well, what's that timeline? You have to think about that. How much time do I have left to prepare? If you're within a year or two of retirement, then it's time for you to put together that retirement plan, that transition plan. Because I will tell you, and I'm sure the first sergeant will tell you this too, when you retire from the military, and of course, Reg too, he retired. That day you retire and you begin that new life, that transition is very hard, whether you've been in the military, in corporate America, had your own business, been in education. You've now stepped off that stage you've been on for 10, 20, 15, 30 years, and you now embark on a new phase of your life. And it can be a little stressful because you kind of don't know where to head. You've got all these new opportunities in front of you. And it's a little bit difficult to imagine what you're going to do for the next 30 or 40 years. So it's important to have that idea in your mind of what you're going to do, because a lot of people get a little lost in their retirement because they didn't go right. You got to understand that. Next slide. So I'm just trying to options and goals and plans for you, because again, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. When you're imagining this retirement, again, keep in mind that you're going to live a lot longer than your grandparents and your parents. So you're going to have a lot more time in retirement. So you have to think about that fact that we are going to live longer. Our life expectancy for the people in this call right now over age 65 is a really long timeline now. Most of us are going to live into our 90s. Some of us are going to make it to 100.
I think Donna froze. Donna? Yeah.
He has.
She's frozen. Okay.
She's out in rural.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay. So-
she's back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. So again, plan for the long term. So plan for the long term. Okay, here's something that you need to focus on for just a minute. Think about this. A lot of people think that Social Security is going to be a great retirement, and I'm not here to tell you it's not, but you need to consider the fact that the trust fund status is a little wobbly right now. I just checked earlier this afternoon on statistics from the Social Security Administration. Right now, their trust fund status shows that they will run out of funds at their current rate in 2034, right? It used to be 2035, so they've lost a year. So imagine if you're not going to retire for another 10 years, at some point during your preparation for retirement, you can't rely on Social Security because the funds are going to run out. Now, I'm sure the government will save Social Security, but when they transition it to its new form, I'm sure it'll have to be reprogrammed, right? That the benefits will have to be reduced so they can live a little bit longer to cover more people. So the Social Security that you're expecting right now will probably change in less than 10 years, maybe 12 or 15. But certainly in less than 20 years, it's going to be vastly different than the Social Security you're expecting right now. So you have to plan for that. There are alternatives that you need to consider, right? You need to have your own private plans. Don't rely on Social Security. And there's going to be benefits for future generations, but for the benefits for the future generations, our retirements may be affected, so we can buy more time for those future generations. So just imagine Social Security is not the Social Security of the future. It's going to change. It's going to run out of funds, and the governments have to restructure it. Next slide. So, because a lot of people do rely on Social Security to provide the bulk of their retirement money, but unfortunately, that's not a good strategy. You have to have a backup plan, probably several backup plans, right? So when you understand the impact of inflation, so imagine this. Well, right now we're going through an inflation increase, right? How many of you have noticed how much food's gone up? Certainly gasoline is out the roof, right? Everything's being impacted by the inflation bubble we're going through right now. So imagine over the next, 5-10 years, you're prepping for retirement, and you realize, hey, when I retire, the cost of everything I buy or do is going to cost a lot more than it did when I first started that plan a long time ago. So you have to plan for these contingencies, that inflation is going to increase prices, and the retirement that you plan for now is insufficient because of the rate of inflation. You need to track that and stay on top of it. That's why, I'm a financial planner. That's why I can help people, because we have to understand the trends and where they're heading and the impacts it has on people's real income. Loss of spending power. So when we go through an inflation phase like we're at right now, you'll have loss of spending power, and that affects your retirement as well. So you thought you'd be able to afford a certain place to live or a certain home, or the kind of things that you expected to have in retirement near your family, or doing the kinds of activities. A lot of people, when they retire, they want to travel. Well, if travel's become exorbitant right now, prices are going up for, travel right now. You may lose. Airline flights are exorbitant, and you can't do the traveling you expected. So you have to have backup plans in the event that the plan you initially put together is not the one you can implement, because prices and inflation and other economic stresses have hurt your ability to retire. Next slide. Options in your plans. The importance of planning revolves around some life cycles, right? We're going to talk about some life cycles, right? There's different things you have to do in your earning years than in your non-earning years. Basically, for most of us, we're going to be in an earning phase until at least 65. Some of us may work until 70. That's my plan, but it's your plan you're putting together. So if you want to retire at 60, you obviously got to have a much more aggressive plan than someone who plans to retire in your 18 to 30 to start their 401ks. They've got to start their IRAs, whatever plan they're going to choose to invest money into, either through a company or one that they purchased themselves. They've got to at least get it started. In 30 to 45, now you're getting married, you're having children, you've got a lot of responsibilities to the family. That's another phase of responsibility, and it's still important that you keep with your plan. I know for a lot of families, being able to put money into their portfolios or into their retirement plans or get kind of impacted by the fact that they're raising a family and the money is tight. So you have to plan for that as well. Now you got the phase of maturity, right? You're 45 to 55 years old. You are now looking closer towards retirement. You know that retirement's now, less than 10 or 20 years away. Your actions during that phase, now you're getting nervous because either you're not sure you have enough money or you haven't put aside enough money into those plans you already started, right? So you begin to reflect on that between 55 to 65. And then hopefully by 65 or 70, you reach that stage of tranquility, right? You're now retired. Your retirement plans are being able to be executed according to what you provided for. You've put aside some contingency funds in the event that inflation affected your ability to save money. And now you're prepared, right? And you start executing your plan. So these are just stages of life for you to be aware of, where you're starting your plan, you're trying to implement it. Things get tight when you start new jobs, moving, or there's all these stresses, right? In your 40s, someone's in their 50s, and now you're looking forward to retirement, and then you enter retirement. Your plan has to shift with these phases of your life, and you have to plan for them just like you plan for everything else, because your life will impact your ability to plan your financial future. Next slide. So again, the importance of planning. When you're looking at this life cycle approach and understanding the impact of your lifestyle and the kind of changes that life will throw at you with your job and your family, right? You need to think about how much can I really invest towards my retirement, knowing I have all these responsibilities in company, to my education, all the things are important to me, right? So are you saving enough retirement in some tax deferred accounts? That's very important that you have a tax deferred account to put your money into for retirement, right? You want to avoid taxes as much as possible until you start pulling on those accounts. Are you making regular contributions? So if your employer offers a 401k or an IRA and you put money into it and the match is 3%, but you don't put in 3%, you're leaving money on the table. So whatever your employer is offering as a match, always match whatever the employer will match for you, right? That way you'll maximize the contribution you get. And if the match is 5 or 6, try and put that extra money in there. It's going to make it difficult, I know. But it's very important for people to understand that the match is critical. You have to match what the employer is offering so you can maximize your retirement contributions. So when you get your IRA or 401k pulled, you have a mix of different kinds of opportunities inside of it, whether it's bonds or stocks or mutual funds or real estate, whatever that portfolio looks like, you should understand what it is. And most of these plans provided by large companies will give you a pie chart every quarter. So you can look at the progress of your plan and you can shift it as you need to. You work with your financial planner and you say, hey, I noticed that real estate's doing really well. Maybe I should shift a few more funds into real estate. And your advisor, your financial planner, should be able to advise you on that. Now, right now, obviously, with the stock market getting a little bit wobbly, this wouldn't be the time, or it might be the time to buy stock, because it's a great time to buy stock since they're being impacted. But if you don't have that kind of income, then maybe you want to a little more safe, right? But it all depends on your risk management strategy. Everybody has a risk management attitude, right? Some people are very risk averse, other people are not. So if you're one of those people that's risk averse, you need to find some kind of place to safely have money growing for you on you as an individual, what's best for your family, right? Next slide. So when you're talking about options, we've been talking about planning. We need to understand what our options are, right? Because we've been talking about tax deferred accounts, making contributions, ensuring you have your retirement needs are going to be. If you're someone who maximizes your paycheck, every time the paycheck arrives, it's already spent, then planning for retirement is going to be a little more difficult for you, right? Because you're taking all of your income to pay all of your bills, right? So you need to find a way to still increase your retirement contributions while managing the fact that you've got bills to pay. And that's hard to do, particularly in a time of inflation right now, but you have to figure that out. And that's where a financial planner comes in. So think about your needs versus wants. Are there things you really need versus things you want to do? A common one with a lot of families is they like to go out and do things, whether it's go out to eat, go out to movies, go out to various venues, take trips. If you're in a tight budget and you And in this time of inflation, you might want to reduce some of those things that are just nice to have versus things you must do, right? So think about needs versus wants. That's very important. You need steady income sources. If you're a business owner and your only source of income is from the business, this is going to impact you, right? Because sometimes your income may be up and down. Some months you'll do well, other months not so well. So you've got to plan for those deserts, we'll call them, where your income is a little lower than it should be. So plan for that. And on those good months, put aside some money where you've got some hidden in reserve that you can pull from if you need to. Try and avoid it if you can. A retirement income snapshot is important. So from time to time, sit down with your financial planner. It can be me or someone else, right? And take a look at your retirement. How's it going? Is it on track? Is it meeting your goals? Is your plan being executed to the point where you are going to achieve your retirement goal? If it's not, you need to make some tweaks. You need to sit down with your planner and adjust things a little bit. So that's why we encourage you to do that at least annually, preferably more often than that, particularly if you're getting in the over 50 age group. Next slide. So we've talked about options again. Let's keep on that same line of thinking. So what's going to happen to me in retirement with taxes? This is a big deal, people. If you want to take a note right now. Where do you think taxes are going to be when you retire? Do you think they're going to be lower? I don't think so. So one of the big impacts to your retirement, other than maybe your plan not being executed properly, is taxes, because they're only going to go up. So if you can imagine right now the impact of taxes on your lifestyle, and now you're no longer in your income earning years, you're living off that nest egg that you set aside, and maybe some Social Security if it's left. And the impact of taxes is going to be huge. So you need to figure this out with your financial planner and your tax advisor as to how can I maximize my taxes now so that later if they go up, I'm ready. I don't get surprised by the fact that my income taxes have gone up, my state income taxes have gone up, and now I'm in a pickle because I've got a small retirement fund that's going to be depleted by taxes. Don't let that happen to you. Understand the impacts of putting money away in a pre-tax state, having maybe a Roth IRA where your taxes are already paid. And when you take distribution from the Roth IRA, you don't pay any more taxes, right? So there's various programs and plans you can take out that'll maximize your plan while avoiding any impact to you from taxes, right? You need to understand ordinary income and capital gains. That's important too. This is where your financial professional can help you and guide you properly. Next slide. And always maximize tax deferred plans, whether it's IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, SEPs. There's a bunch of different kinds, right? We're going to talk about those on the next slide. So if you're wondering about old companies, but you can start your own plan if you want to. In particular, for small businesses, it would probably be a SEP IRA. But the various kinds that you might participate in are 401ks. You might have people in the military have TSPs, right? You might have a 403b if you've been in education. Simple IRAs or SEP IRAs are popular with small business owners. Also, there's government plans, government retirements, pension or keyhole plans, right? Those are also popular with small business owners. So we're talking about here is what is your individual retirement arrangement? What kind of plan have you chosen or are you going to choose, and how are you going to stick to it? So a traditional IRA is going to be a tax deferred plan, right? Your Roth IRA, again, you've already paid the taxes on it. The money you put in it, you've already paid taxes on it. So when you take distribution, you're not going to pay any more taxes on it. Then you got payroll deduction IRA. This is the most common one people have at work. They've got a payroll deduction IRA or a 401k that, before they take any income off that money that's being paid by their employer, it's going right into that IRA or that 401k. That's the best way to do it. You don't miss the money and it goes right into your retirement plan. Next slide. Now, when you're talking about your plans and your options, there's other ways to look at investments, right? So most of what we talked about is some kind of a tax deferred retirement plan, right? Some kind of an IRA or 401k. There are also annuities. Annuities can be fixed where there's a fixed rate of return. Right now with Mutual of Omaha, all of our fixed annuities have an interest rate well above 3%. So it's one of the highest we've had in a very long time. That's higher than a CD, money market account, almost anything you can think of that's fixed, right? So they're very good opportunities. If you want to put money away someplace safely for a few years, I can highly recommend an annuity. And like I said, Mutual of Omaha has the highest rates right now, over 3% return. We have deferred variable annuities. If you want to put some of your exposure to the market and go with a variable product, we can do that as well. Obviously, the returns are higher, but the risk of exposure to the markets there as well. You can also, and I know this is going to surprise you, another way of increasing your retirement fund is to use permanent life insurance. If you have a permanent life insurance policy that you took out, say, in your earlier years, by the time you're ready to retire, it can pay you an income during retirement. You got to take it out early, when you're younger, hopefully get enough that it makes a decent return on investment for you. And ours are pretty high right now, the return on investment side of our life insurance policies. Another nice thing about life insurance policies, all the money that grows inside the policy is tax-free forever. You don't ever pay tax on the money that grows inside of a life insurance policy. Remember, I told you before that with the Roth, you don't pay any tax on it, right? So it's similar like a Roth. It's income that you've already paid tax on. So you're not going to pay any more taxes on it because it's life insurance. So the money you take distribution on, say you have $100,000 permanent life insurance policy. And when you enter retirement, there's say $100,000 sitting in the policy that has been grown for you by the life insurance company. You can pay yourself a salary for as long as you want to from that money, tax free. You're not going to pay any tax on that money. So it's a wonderful backup plan for your retirement. If you're not sure Social Security is going to be there for you, take out a permanent life insurance policy and it'll pay you in retirement. Next slide. So again, talking about options, what other options do I have about retirement? We're trying to give you as many ideas as possible to increase your retirement income, right? Because it's all about income, right? But you got to protect some things, right? There are things that are going to affect your retirement that you didn't plan for. Remember, we talked about the impact of taxes, right? Inflation, that's going to hurt your earning power, right? Long-term care, we don't ever expect this is going to happen to us, but the reality is that some of the people on this call, when they get older, are going to need help, either at home or in a facility. The impact of a long-term care emergency is huge. Long-term care facilities at the lower end of the scale are $5,000 a month, okay? At the upper end of the scale, if you need a memory care unit, they're $10,000 a month. I can't imagine anyone's retirement being able to thrive with that kind of an impact to it. So it's something you have to prepare for. You can actually purchase long-term care plans that'll take care of that. But you have to start them early and you have to go through underwriting, but it is possible to take out a long-term care plan that'll pay your bills while you're in that kind of care. Premature death is another one, okay? Obviously, your retirement is going to be impacted to your family if you don't make it, right? So you've got to understand the potential for that happening and have life insurance and other things in place to take care of that. Business ownership. Okay, say you're a business owner, you have your own business. You have to have a plan for, retirement, which means you either sell the business, you transfer it to another owner, maybe transfer it to another family member. You have to have a plan to walk off the stage, right? I can't tell you how many times I meet business owners. I say, what's your retirement plan? They go, what do you mean? I said, are you going to sell your business? Are you going to just dissolve it? Are you going to, provide another owner to take it over? And they go, I haven't really thought about it. Well, if you're a business owner, you have to think that through because that affects your retirement. If your retirement plan is selling the business and making a big wad of money and you sell that business during a time of stress like we're doing right now, you may not make as big an income on it as you thought. So you have to plan for that, right? Estate planning is a huge issue, right? You don't want the government, okay, when you're not around and your family's trying to take care of your assets to come tax everything, just because you're no longer on the scene. So you have to have an estate plan to make sure that doesn't happen and protect your assets, right? From a lot of things that could happen with taxes and other unfortunate instances. I think a lot of you on this call know this, but my husband didn't have an estate plan or a will. His whole estate went into probate. It was a nasty, long drawn out and painful process. Please, everybody on the call, if you do not have a will, please get one done. You don't want to put your family through the probate process. Trust me, no matter where you go, it's a long drawn out and painful process. Next slide. Just about wrapping up here. So when you're understanding options, right? Remember we talked about earlier your risk tolerance. This is very important when you're talking about your assets and preparing for retirement. You have to understand, how do I look at risk? Is it something that I'm really worried about or I don't really give much concern to it? Because your ability to manage risk is really important for retirement. You've got to protect your funds. And if you're risk averse, then you don't want to put most of the bulk of your funds into something that's risky, or at least in your mind is risky, right? So understanding that, working with your financial planner is very important. You have a strategic asset allocation. Remember, we talked about diversification before. Don't put all of your retirement assets into one basket, literally, right? Have your retirement assets diversified. Have them spread out among different kinds of asset allocations, like bonds and mutual funds, perhaps education opportunities, like that would exist with, say, a 403b. Those are really great, and they actually do pretty well. Another one is the Roth IRAs. I really encourage those for people because you don't have to pay any more tax on them, right? It's like buying life insurance. You're not going to pay any more tax on them. So Roths are wonderful. So instead of looking at retirement with one kind of plan, think of multiple plans to serve multiple purposes, right? The Roth is there because you're not going to pay any more taxes there. There because they have a great return on investment. They 401k, and then you got your life insurance, which is never taxed. So you see how you're building a cohesive, well-rounded plan that you can execute in retirement. That's what we're trying to achieve, right? Managing risk. So setting your retirement goals, right? It's very important to think this through, right? There's some special situations in retirement that could creep up and affect your retirement. Obviously, divorce has a big impact on retirement planning. Women, when they face retirement, sometimes need a little more help than men because they haven't traditionally had to worry about retirement the way that men do, right? Women in the workforce are still finding themselves. We're much more structured than we used to be in the workforce, but still gaining some ground in there. And obviously women, they've done studies, don't get paid as well as men, right? So our ability to put away enough money in retirement can be impacted just by the fact that we're women and we just don't have the earning power of men. So it's just a fact that we have to get around. So that means for women on this call, you've got to put more money in retirement than men because you're already starting at a place of being behind with your income, right? You've got dependents with special needs. If you've got a special need member of your family, typically a child, you've got to make special provisions for them. So your retirement will be affected by the fact that you've got to help this person probably went into adulthood and beyond, right? So you need to have things set aside for that person, right? Inflation and recession can greatly affect your retirement. That's something to be aware of. Obviously, we're in an inflation stage right now. We're probably going to enter a recession at some point. Taxes and healthcare costs are continuing to go up. As you may know, and I've spoken about this before, but medical bills right now are becoming a major source of bankruptcy in America. So you need to prepare for the fact that a lot of people say, well, I won't have to worry about healthcare. I'll be on Medicare when I'm 65. And that's great. Medicare is a great opportunity, but you have to get to Medicare. If you have a health crisis when you're 55, Medicare can't help you because you're too young. So think about the fact that you've got to have that emergency funds on hand in the event that some medical crisis erupts and you've got a lot of medical bills. You don't want to go bankrupt just because of medical bills. Goal assessment. And then we're almost done here. Your initial needs for retirement are going to change when you're getting older, right? So those initial goals you had will change over time. It's important to work with your financial planner to have your goals match where you are in life, right? Because when you started out in your 20s or 30s with your retirement goals, they've changed now that you're older and you have a family. You may have kids in college. You may have parents living with you. You have all these special situations where your goals will change. You need to do a mid goals, shift your plans and shift your expectations, right? And you're at the point you enter retirement. If you're in an inflation period like we are now, your retirement is going to be impacted by the high cost of everything. So your goals may have to shift because you're now in a stage where everything costs more. Next slide. I think that is it. Some reason, Claire, that slide keeps getting stuck. It doesn't want to move. That's what I just talked about. The fact that you need to do your assessment periodically. And I advise you do it every year. That slide said every 5 years, but I recommend every year. Are there any questions I can answer? Anybody, anything come to mind while I was talking? Brenda, do you have something?
I think that with the Scholarship Foundation, we've certainly been looking at deaths the donor advised funds. Can you speak to that, please?
I don't actually have a lot of expertise in that area. I'll be honest with you, Brenda, but I've got a whole bunch of advanced planners that I can draw on. How about you and I have a phone call this week?
Absolutely.
And I'll get you some answers, but
Absolutely.
it's not my area of expertise, but I can get you some answers from
Thank you.
the corporate office. Yeah. So put your contact information in the chat and let's do a virtual coffee.
Will do.
Yes, ma'am. I don't want to lead you astray. I know a little bit, but not enough.
This kind of thing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good question.
Great presentation, everybody.
think Glenn
Give
has
it a
a-
big
Glenn
clap.
has a question. Go ahead, Sergeant. Go ahead, Sergeant.
Yes,
Thank you.
my question is, and I got a lot of financial folks on here today, so it's good.
Mhm.
And I don't have a match. I'm a teacher, so we don't have a match, but I do have a 401k. And my question is it best to max out my 401k in that single investment for the most part, or don't max out the 401k and put money in other investment opportunities?
Mhm. Good question. Good question.
I tell you what the answer is. It really depends on how well your 401k is doing. Do you know what your rate of return is? If it's at least 8, 9, 10%, then maybe I would maximize the 401k. What's your current ROI?
I'm just getting started. Just getting started.
Mhm. Okay, okay. Well,
Oh, I understand. Okay. So since you're just getting started and we're kind of entering a period of inflation, what I would recommend First Sergeant, go ahead and maximize the contribution in that current 401k since you've just started it. And the economy is going to be a little tight for a while. It's not going to be what I would recommend. So as long as it's got any decent kind of return on investment, go ahead and put money into that. And then maybe wait a year, because I think in a year, we're either going to enter a recession, it's going to get worse, or begin to see the economy gives you time to see how that 401k is working, get a good year's worth of information behind you, see how the return on investment looks. And if it's still doing well, then continue on with that. If it's not, then I would recommend you diversify. I would definitely recommend you diversify. Yes.
okay.
So, and we can do a chat one day. I would love to look at your.
Are we on?
No.
Good deal. So Donna, I want to thank you for your
Hey.
participation. Are you still there? I think we're frozen or something. Are you still talking? Donna, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you hear me?
So
Okay?
I really want to thank you for your advice.
Can
and
you hear me?
support. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we can hear you. So anybody out there just need more money? Need more money, man. Need more money. I got more checks than I have months, or I got more months and not enough checks. So, but you know, I say that facetiously, but we're reaching into a time where, you know, the cost of living is going up. And I know Donna is suggesting recession or inflation. That's probably all well true. But, you know, the thing about that is that nobody can manage or control how much money you could make. But I do believe that an opportunity could come your way that could change your whole life, transform your whole life. But I'd like to encourage you to now take a very aggressive look at opportunities and ways to generate money, and also in combination with you, Daryl, how to generate wealth. You can't just generate salaries. Salaries are fine and they serve a purpose. But, you know, my father used to tell me, he used to say, you know, son, no matter where you work, remember, you always work for yourself. Always work for yourself. That means you have to look at opportunities that can prescribe and describe for you the position you could be in time. Now that means you got to look and think outside of the box. Now, and I don't know how averse you are to working with the stock market. That's a good way to make money. People have made millions with the market, you know, and you've got to be careful, and you've got to, and don't be afraid of it. And then you have what Bitcoin. You got people who are pursuing and observing and investigating the process of Bitcoin. Maybe so that's for you, but there are ways, and don't look at an opportunity as if it's just going to fall apart. Look at ways that you can control the market, control your position, and still make revenue, still make money. If you are just something simple, let's just say, this is just off the box to talk about. Let's just say there's many of us live in food deserts, where there's a long distance between us, good food, fresh food, and what would it take for you? And I'm not saying or suggesting this. What would it take for you to set up a shop to actually do business with food or something like that? But you have to look at it. We have all 24 hours in a day, 24 hours in a day. And so, and if you could utilize another 4.5 to 5 hours a day to generate 50 grand, that's a lot of money for the time you're putting in. And that's even if it's in a month's period of time or, a year. So look at the ratio of time that it would take you to generate that kind of money. And then you start to look at what the long terms are. Anybody out there need to fund their pension? If you need to fund your pension, Social Security will and might be around, but if you got to fund a pension, a real pension that will elevate your lifestyle, then you have to get aggressive about looking at what opportunities look like, what the prospects are looking like, and explore them. Don't just, take a walk down, memory lane or the grassy park or whatever. You got to get down in the grass on things to see, can I make money at this? What are the prospects? Well, because there are ways that you can generate $1,000 a month with $100 investments. Now that's not bad. For $100 investment, you get $1,000 return. I mean, over a 12-month period of time, that's 12 grand. That's 12 grand. It may not sound like much. Now, many people have looked at real estate. Real estate is a very profitable opportunities. And then people will tell you all the time, and there's some loopholes and there's some big holes in real estate. But I mean, you have to look at what the opportunities look like that can generate the kind of comfort and expense model. Now you're never gonna have all, well, I don't know, even if you're a millionaire, will you have all the money you need? I don't know. I mean, even as a millionaire, you're still gonna need more money. You're still going to need more money because there are going to be things that you're going to want to do for people, people that you want to and have to take care of, and people that you want to make sure are in better position than you. So, so you got to think about those things, and you got to count the costs, cut your losses, and follow the yellow brick road. That's real. That's really real. So, and you have to be hungry about it. I'm hungry all the time. Hungry all the time. I just ate a steak and I still want to eat. But you know what I mean. I mean, it's not about calories or diet.
Yeah.
It is about getting your value.
So
getting your value.
we have to follow the yellow brick road.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Colonel Donna, for that was an excellent presentation.
It was.
If you happen to catch this video on Facebook or Instagram, write us a question for Donna and she will make herself available to you. So make sure that you write a comment so we know that you like the video, you're watching the video. And I know that a lot of people wrote to me that you couldn't make it, people were sick, all kinds of things happened this evening. So watch this video and tell us what you think about it. And we will be doing a full retirement series. I'm working with a few veteran organizations, and I'm not going to mention them, but hopefully come June, July, we've been asked to do retirement. So we'll be doing a lot of lunch and learns and, programming. And you can know that you can start retirement planning even at a very young age. In fact, you should start it at the age of 20. So that by the time you are retiring, you have plenty of money saved up. So no matter what age you are, this retirement seminar that we are working with, Donna and I, we will share with you about that in June. So June, July are going to be a lot of retirement planning events and activities. I will be having a lot of lunch and learns, and we all enjoyed the Village Steakhouse. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to brightsideglobaltrade.org.